Hi, Screencastify community. My name is Darcie Priester, and I'm an instructional technology coach with Manassas Park City Schools in Northern Virginia. My session is called Design the Magic Sauce, and I will have the link here for you. You can see the link right here, but I will also put it on the screen as well. My session is all about helping you design visually engaging activities for your students without having to go and buy it. So, just a little bit about me before we get started. My background is in journalism. I was a layout designer and worked with website design and graphic design. And when I jumped over to education and eventually got to this role, I had teachers asking me, how did you create this? Or how does this look as professional as something that Google or Pear Deck or another company would put out for students? And that just came as part of my background and my skills. And I was able to use it with a lot of the activities that I created for my own students. And that's kind of where this session came from, is I want to be able to share some of that knowledge with you. So this is a fully activated website that you can come to again and again to look at resources. On this first page, what I have for you are what I call my essential ingredients. These are really the essential skills that I feel are really important for anyone who's designing something, activities, ads, whatever it may be, for you to know and be able to use. So in the design industry, this concept of what they call CRAP, which I have heard several teachers change to make it more student friendly as PARC with a C. This is contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. So I have this on my site that you'll be able to go through and kind of get an idea what these different elements of design are and how you can use it in your assignments. Some of the other design essential ingredients that I want to share with you today are going to be ordering layers, cropping, grouping, shadowing, and we'll talk a little bit about maybe white space and typography too if we have some time. So I'm going to show you how to do these in Google Slides or Drawings, Canva, and Adobe Spark. But before I get to that, I just want to show you a couple more things about the site that you can explore on your own. Once you have the essential ingredients, then you're going to be ready to start cooking. And so I have a sample activity that you can do that I call quick draw, just to kind of get you into a different mindset and thinking about how you can use shapes within each of these tools in a different way. So you have that option. But then I also recommend when you're starting out with design to start small. So I've given you some sample activities that you might be able to take a look at and see how you could make your own. So I always recommend starting out with exit tickets. I feel like this is a small way that you can start to expand how you're using design within activities. So you can always take a look at that. Graphic organizers are also something that we utilize so often in education. It helps us to get students to clarify or organize their ideas and simplify that complex information that they're getting. There's also Jamboard activities. Jamboard has been so popular the last 2 years that I want to show you a couple different things that you can do with Jamboard. And then also drag and drop activities to kind of get away from some of those worksheet-like activities. So those, once you've got your ingredients, you're cooking. If you feel like you can go beyond and need some more advanced skills, that's what seasoning is for. I'm still working a little bit on this page, so this is still a work in progress. But if you feel like you're very comfortable with the basic ideas, this is going to take things up a notch for you. On the recipes page, this is where we can share with each other. I've created some activities that I have shared that you can feel free to take and adapt as needed, but you can also become a collaborator. This is a Wakelet. So if you would like to share some activities that you are creating, this would be a great spot to do that in. And finally, the chef notes. These are really the resources of my session. So I have additional articles and videos and books that if you really would like to learn more about design skills, this would be the place where you could find out more information. You can also contact me on the About page through Twitter or Instagram. You can reach me at Ms. Priester EDU. And I'm also a Google certified trainer and coach, as well as a WeVideo ambassador, Wakelet ambassador. If you have any questions about any of these certifications and how you can get more involved, definitely feel free to reach out to me as well. So let's go ahead and get really into some of the essential ingredients that I want to show you today and how you can use these in these 3 different programs: Google, Canva, and Adobe Spark. So the first one I want to go over is ordering layers. In any program that any kind of design program that you're using, they're going to have different levels or layers that objects can be put on. So we're going to go to this Google Slides activity. So this is a labeling activity. This could be used in a science class, anatomy class, to label the different parts of this skeleton. So right now I've inserted this picture in, but it's layered on top of all of my labels. So I want to push this to the back. So I've selected this image and now I'm just going to right click on it and go to order, and I'm going to hit send to back. And that will send this image behind all of my boxes. So when we're talking about layers, we have typically 4 different options, no matter what program you're in. These might be labeled differently, but they're going to do the same thing. So bring to front is going to bring this image to the very front of all of those layers. Bring forward would bring it one step down, or one step forward in this case. So it may not go in front of everything, but it would go in front of a different layer. And I could click on this several times depending on how many things may be layered on top of the image. Send backward is going to be the exact opposite of bring forward. It's going to go back 1 layer, and send to back would send it all the way to the back, which is what I did in this case. Now, if I wanted to do that in Canva, like I said, very similar. So I have a skeleton here. I'm going to select my skeleton. And this time I'm going to go up to position up in the toolbar. And I can see my words are different, but they're going to act the same. So I'm going to say to the back. And now that's going to add that skeleton to the very back. Excuse me. And my labels will be on top of the skeleton so that I can move them wherever I need them to be. Similar in Adobe Spark as well. Here I have an image on top of this rectangle. So to change my layers, I'm going to go to this floating toolbar, and here I can see my different layers, and I can decide if I wanted to move it down or if I wanted to move something forward. So here you can see it went on top of the polka dots, or I could have sent it to the back or sent it to the front. So that's ordering. The next one that we're going to go to is grouping. So here's grouping. And on my website, you can see that I have animated GIFs to help you. If you can't remember everything that I'm talking about in this session, you can just go to the website and be able to get more information or review something that I'm talking about in this session. So with grouping, I want to group the words, the text, and the box together so that they move as one item. So I've just moved that text box on top. And then one of the tricks that I use is to go from outside and drag my mouse around the items that I want selected. So occasionally it may select other items that I don't want selected. So if I hit the control key on my keyboard and deselect the items that I don't want included in my selection, it will unselect or deselect those objects. So now I just have the two objects that I want together, and then I'm going to right click on them and click on group. And now this is grouped together as one object, and I can move it wherever I need to on the canvas. Now it's a little different in Canva. So again, I'm going to take my word and put it on top of my box. So again, I'm just going to drag on top of the two items that I want selected. And this time I'm going to go to the three dots to find more options, and I'm going to group my two items together. So again, when they move, it moves as one object. I feel like the easiest one to do this in is Adobe Spark. So I'm going to group my picture and my rectangle together. So again, I will drag, select those two items, and Adobe Spark is really intuitive and has already figured out, well, two items are selected. We probably want to group them. So it changed my toolbar over here on the right-hand side, and I can just click on group. And now my items are grouped together. Moving on, we're going to talk about adding shadows. Okay, for this example, I'm going to take elbow and I'm going to right click on that box and go to Format Options. And I'm going to add a drop shadow, and I'm going to change the angle and the distance. So here you can see I've got a dark color as my shadow, and my angle right now is directly behind the box. But as I move the angle, you'll see that it starts to move to different places around the text box. It could be off to the side or straight behind. And then my distance is going to allow it to go even further away or only slightly away. So I kind of like to have my shadows just slightly off to the side. So if I unselect that, now you can see that it has a really nice shadow behind it. And this is really great for drag and drop activities because it allows students to kind of see what's floating a little bit better, and they know that that's usually an option that needs to be drag and dropped. All right, so if I do this in Canva, it's a little harder, both Canva and Adobe Spark. I can't just go to Format Options and change. I actually have to do is make a duplicate box. So I'm going to ungroup this for just a second and move my text box. So I'm going to duplicate by hitting Control D on my keyboard. And now it gives me a second box. And I'm going to make that a darker color. I'm just going to choose black. And then I want to send it backward so that it is behind my yellow box. And then I'm just going to click that box and kind of angle it and put it down away from the first box a little bit so it looks like it has a little bit more of a shadow to it. You may need to just adjust with the top box as well. But that's essentially how you would create a shadow in Canva. And again, very similar way in Adobe Spark. I will select and duplicate, change that color, send it to the back, and then just shift either the top or bottom layer so that it has just a slight shadow behind it. And the last thing that I want to show you today is cropping in all of these different tools. I really love being able to crop images, icons, different things that I can use depending on how it works within my design. So the first, sometimes like with this skeleton, I'll have some extra white space that I really don't need. So I will crop it out. So I'm just highlighting or selecting my object and clicking on crop. And then you'll see that this now changes. And I'm just going to crop in this image a little bit so I don't have all of this white space. Because sometimes when I'm moving things around, because it would have been further out, it would have been easier to accidentally grab that instead of maybe one of the labels. So that's one option. Or the other option is technically called masking. But really what it is we're going to click on this drop down arrow next to crop. And I'm going to crop this into a shape. So I'm going to click over oval, and it will just now make my skeleton into an oval shape rather than have it just as kind of a more rectangular shape. This is really great to do with images to just make things, again, a little bit more visually appealing. So in Canva, we're going to go to an infographic. So the first thing I want to do is, again, show you how to crop. So let's find an image for carbohydrates. All right, here's a great one. And I can resize this, but let's say I only wanted to focus on part of this image. So I can select it, go up to crop in my toolbar, and crop to say, I just want to see this part of the image and just use that and resize as needed. Now it's a little bit more difficult to do shapes in Canva for cropping. So the first thing that I want to do is click on elements, and I'm going to look for frames. And I actually want to make sure that this is under the all category, because then it has these kind of, they're not necessarily like transparent frames, but they allow me to add images to the frames, and it's going to be in the shape that I want it to be in. So let's pick the circle, and we're going to resize this to fit into the canvas that I want. And now I'm going to go back and look for a pitcher of water. And I can't, unfortunately, do this with icons. It will not allow an icon to go into this frame. So let's find, where's the picture that I want? Okay, we'll just do this one and drag it in. And now it's in the shape of a circle. Now, going back to icons for a second, I did have another session that I did. Somebody made the suggestion that you could just create a smaller image, maybe not in like an infographic. Take the icon, make it an image, upload it back into Canva, and then drag it over. That would certainly be an option if you wanted to use the icon that way. And then to crop in Adobe Spark, let's just say I'm going to ungroup this for just a second. If I wanted to only take a portion of my picture in Adobe Spark, I'm going to click on it and click on crop and shape. And then I can just basically kind of resize. And let's say I only wanted to focus on just the bike and get rid of everything else. Just kind of moving it over to get it to where I want it to be, and then clicking the check mark. And now I've just cropped that image down to focus on just the bike. So if I wanted to crop this into a shape, then I would just go back to crop and shape and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And now I have some different shapes that I can put it in. And so let's do the circle again and click done. And now my bicycle is in the shape of a circle. So I hope that you learned some tips and tricks from this session. Please feel free to reach out to me again at Ms. Priester EDU on Twitter or Instagram, and have fun creating.